All right, guys. Hopefully you can kind of see this. I know the board is getting dim, but you got the next packet, which is going to be part of your homework check. It's the multi-step special right triangles, and you have some trig, the 10.3 trig ratios on the second page. So because you have multi-step, we're going to look at more than one triangle to solve. So I'm going to go through a couple of them. Please use this video to help you understand how to set up the problem and find the missing variable. So we're going to leave our answers in radical simplest form. Always start with the triangle that you have a measurement to. So if you look at number 1 here, I just realized I have the wrong one. Yeah, if you look at number 1 here, we have the 10, which is crossed from the right angle, is the hypotenuse. And we have the hypotenuse of the 45, 45, 90 triangle. So we're using the formula, which is leg, and the hypotenuse is leg times radical 2, x square root of 2. So we got to go back to the leg. We need the leg so we can use it to get to the second triangle. So to get to this leg, I take whatever the hypotenuse is, times it by radical 2, and then divide it by 2. So my hypotenuse is 10, so 10 square root of 2 divided by 2. And then I see that 2 can be going into 10 5 times, so my leg is 5 square root of 2. I'm going to put it on the outside here, but also I'm going to put it right here, 5 square root of 2, because both legs are the same. And now I see that the leg that we have in the red triangle is also the hypotenuse of the adjacent triangle. I'm going to make that my green triangle. So again, to get to the leg, okay, to get to the leg of my green triangle, I take whatever the hypotenuse is and multiply by square root of 2, divide by 2. But we also know that the hypotenuse is always leg times square root of 2. So this is a good key right here, because if I look, I have the answer 5 root 2 as my hypotenuse. Well, I can see right now that the 5 is leg. So that's the answer to number 1. So the key to this is finding the first triangle that you have measurements to that you can use to get to the adjacent triangle. So on number 2, I'm hoping you see that we should start with the 7, which is a leg and a right isosceles. So from there, I know this other leg is 7, and now the hypotenuse is 7 root 2. Well, that 7 root 2 is a leg in the adjacent right isosceles. So that's also 7 root 2 on this side. And now to get to the hypotenuse of my blue triangle, I take the leg times radical 2. So 7 root 2 times square root of 2. And we should get that x is 14. Okay, and I forgot to box the other one. All right, so that's number 2. Number 3 is very similar to number 2. I do want you to try that one because they start off with the 9, and that 9 is a leg. So now you can get the hypotenuse. Okay, very similar to number 2. I'm not going to do this one. Refer to number 2 to help you with that one. Now let's look at number 4 together. Here, I'm starting with the 9, and that 9 is the hypotenuse. So I have to work backwards to get my leg. To get my leg, I take whatever the hypotenuse is, and I did the shortcut before, but basically put that square root of 2 with it and then divide by 2. If you don't understand how to rationalize, because here's how we get to that. You take the hypotenuse, you divide by square root of 2. But you can't have a radical at the bottom, so we rationalize it. Multiply by square root 2 over square root 2. Top times top gets multiplied together, so that's 9 root 2. And the bottom just comes 2. So this basically gets me to that. Okay, that's just the work. But if you know the shortcut, you can start using the shortcut. So I know my leg is now 9 square root of 2 over 2. That's the same leg for both. And I don't have room to show it, but basically that's our hypotenuse. We have a 9 square root of 2 over 2, and we got to get to the leg. So to get to the leg, we're going to have to divide. Do y'all see what we're doing here? Because the leg, I'm going to write it over here, is the hypotenuse divided by the square root of 2. So I'm taking this whole number, because this represents the hypotenuse, and I'm actually dividing by the square root of 2. All right, let me just recap when you divide fractions. 9 square root of 2 over 2 divided by square root of 2 over 1. When we divide, we basically flip and multiply. That's why we have on the bottom here 9 square root of 2 over 2 times 1 over the square root of 2. Notice that the square root of 2 is on the bottom. It's just going to go to that bottom right there. So I'm just going to rewrite this. Look, 9 square root of 2 over 2 times the square root of 2. And then I'm going to show you that these square root of 2's cancel out. And we get that the hypotenuse is really, or the leg, excuse me, is really 9 over 2. And I think some of you might have saw that, but just in case, remember, it's whatever the number is in front of the radical is our leg. All right, so that's number 4. And 5 is a little simpler, but we're starting with the hypotenuse here.
Coach Kirby, please dial 200.
Sorry about that. Okay, so we got the hypotenuse, so hopefully you see the leg is 5 and 5. That is the hypotenuse of the smaller triangle. So we have to divide or work backwards to get to my x. And basically, try it. You should get 5 root 2 over 2. Okay? Now, you can have a radical other than square root of 2 as part of your hypotenuse of your leg. So on number 6, that's what we have here. But we're going to do the same thing. To get rid of the radical, or to go back to the leg, which we know are the same, we're going to take that 9 square root of 6, and we're going to divide it by the square root of 2. I'm dividing by square root of 2 because I know 2 can go into 6. 2 can go into 6 3 times. So basically, my leg is 9 square root of 3. So that means that 9 square root of 3 is also the hypotenuse of the smaller triangle adjacent to it. So to get to the leg, oops, I probably shouldn't erase that, but to get to the leg, we have to now divide by that 9 square root of 3 by the square root of 2. We can't have the radical at the bottom, so now we're going to rationalize it. So that gives me 9 square root of 6 over 2, and there's my answer for x. Okay, there's my answer for x. All right, so I'm going to leave the, oh, well, because we have a 36. I'm going to do the 7, and then I'm going to leave 8 for you to work. All right, so start with the one you have. If you look, we have this 30, 60, 90, because we have the hypotenuse, that's 9. So remember our parts, we have hypotenuse, we have short leg, we have long leg. If my hypotenuse is 9, then my short leg is exactly 4.5. And that means my long leg is exactly 4.5 square root of 3. 4.5, sorry, square root of 3. All right, that's my long leg. So to get to my short leg, I have to take whatever the long leg is, divided by square root of 3. Well, I already know my long leg is the 4.5 square root of 3 divided by the square root of 3. The square root of 3 is canceled out, and I see that my short leg is 4.5. Oh, I apologize. That was the hypotenuse in the new triangle. Dang it, sorry about this video. I didn't pay attention. So let's fix this. And you're just going to have to learn from your mistakes just like I do. So, all right. The 4.5 square root of 3 is the hypotenuse. So to get to the short leg, all we had to do is take that 4.5 square root of 3 divided by 2. Okay? I did more work than necessary. So that is our short leg. All right, so then you have number 8 to do. All right, on the second part of your worksheet, we have what we call trig ratios, round to the nearest tenth. So the nearest tenth, or 10,000. Okay, that's basically when we round, we are going to have 4 decimal places after, 4 digits after the decimal place. Okay, so on here you're going to need a calculator. I will post a video of how you can do trig on your calculator on your phone, because it will do that. You'll have to turn it. It'll probably be, I'll try to have both for Android and Apple. So I'm going to add that video. Make sure you look at that. But on our calculators, when you use it, let's let it load up. There is an actual key, a button that says trig on it, that you have to hit so you can get to your trig ratios, which are sine, cosine, And we have some tangent, and then we have cosecant, secant, cotangent, so which we don't need to know about. We'll get to those later. But basically, we're just going to get a decimal answer here, okay? And we're going to round. And as soon as we get this load up, so I'm going to pause the video and let it load. Okay, so we go to add a calculation. Underneath the blue control button, there's this button that says Trig. If you hit that, you get all your trig ratios. On our first one, we're doing, I believe, let me look at the worksheet, cosine of 43. So this is just kind of showing an animation of the different ones. We're just going to worry about the first three here and the first three below. So hit cosine, that'll give you the cosine. Then we have to just put in 43. If it'll let me do that. Let's try this again. Nope. Okay. Cosine 43. Hit enter. And we get this decimal. Now, if you ever get negative answers, let's say you were playing with it and you get a negative answer, and I'll remind you this in class, that means that you are not doing degrees. That means you're doing radians. So to do that, and I probably should have showed this, and I'll show it to you right now, you have to go to your settings, document settings. See, I have degrees as my angle. If I had a radian in here, and I did my cosine 43, I'm going to get a number that's off, okay? So we'll make sure that you put it in here. This one didn't come out to be a negative, but sometimes you have negative answers, and that's always a key that you get that's in the wrong mode. So we will make sure that you know how to put your settings, your document in the correct settings, and which is degrees, and we'll make that as our default. So let's look at this real quick. We're going to round to 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. So I'm looking at the 3. I look to the right of that. That's a 5. So my answer is 0.7314. 14. So some of you are going to get to our trig ratios today. We're going to go over SOHCAHTOA. If you've got to that, I am asking you to start on this, work on it. If you haven't, you need to make sure you finish the first 7 that you have. And watch the video to understand how to get to trigs on your phone. All right, that's it. I will do another video with the rest. We are going to have a homework check like you did this week over this packet. Thanks.